Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. Today we're going to look at this House of M Ultimate Edition. Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I'm your host, Brent, and today we're going to look at this House of M Ultimate Edition, and I thought I'd do an overview on this because I did not know something about this book. This was not the English version of the book. I mean, it's in English, but it's a little weird. If you look here, you have the Marvel thing at the bottom, whereas all the Marvel trades, literally all of them, have Marvel at the top. Some of them now are, I think now it's not white and red, it's red and then white. But I thought this was a little weird. So then I opened it up, I flipped it over, I said, what the hell, it's still in English, and then I looked at the back, and this thing's in pounds. And I went, pounds? Why is this thing in pounds? Well, as it turns out, this is the UK version of the Marvel book, and for some reason it was available on Amazon Prime for the same price. So when I ordered it, I thought I was getting the House of M. I thought they had published a recent edition of this House of M book. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but this is the one that Amazon's delivering. It is in English, and it is very nice. So before we do the overview, let me ask you to please subscribe. It helps me out, helps the channel grow, lets you know when I drop new videos, all that good stuff. So, House of M Ultimate Edition. What makes this the Ultimate Edition, Brent? Well, it's not a hardcover. There's very little extras to speak of. But I do think this is an Ultimate Edition because of mainly one thing. The paper quality is so much nicer than anything I've had from a Marvel book in a long, long time. Like, this is the Avengers Disassembled trade. This is quite old in terms of what their trades look like now, but I wanted to have it because it has the spine. But even their newer trades, I think, are thinner than these newer Daredevil ones I'm about to pull out. They seem really floppy. The paper's really thin. Like, this is 6 issues. This is somehow thicker, and this is like 5 issues. Like, Disassembled is not long. But yet, this is 8 issues, and this thing is massive. Massive. And that is because the paper quality is so much thicker. So I think that is why one could call it the Ultimate Edition. As well as being glossy, it has this, like, texture to it, I guess you would say. So it's like a rough, glossy paper, not a smooth, glossy paper. And then all the covers inside have Marvel graphic novel, House of M, number 5. Like, it's a fucking comic book. It's not a graphic novel, but okay, I'll take it. And then it's got some variant covers over here to number 4, which is the comic prior to that. So there are some goodies spread throughout, but I think the paper is really what makes this the Ultimate Edition. Like, this feels like archival quality paper. It's really incredible. So that's enough about the paper. Let's talk about the book. What is House of M? Well, House of M is the sequel basically to Avengers Disassembled. This is Brian Michael Bendis. He came on Avengers basically to kill it with Avengers Disassembled. He makes Wanda go... Not Wanda, that's fucking Union Jack. Makes Wanda go crazy, and we find out that she is the one who made the Vision go nuts, and Hawkeye ended up getting killed, and, Union Jack of Hearts gets killed in here. She-Hulk goes crazy. There's a whole bunch of deaths in here. We find out it's all because of Wanda. And at the end of the book, her dad, Magneto, comes to save her, and they just kind of give her up. Right? So what happens to Wanda after that? Well, we don't find out for a little while. I think there's a couple month gap in terms of publishing history. New Avengers launches with Brian Michael Bendis and David Finch, who is the artist here. And then some point in the second arc, they decide that they're going to do something called House of M. And originally, this was going to be a crossover between the Astonishing X-Men and the Avengers. And eventually it just spun out into its own event, and this was what kicked off basically Marvel's years-long events thing, followed up with this, with Secret Invasion, Siege, Secret War, just everything that they've done since this book came out is basically a response to how well this line-wide event did at the time in, I don't know, I want to say it was like 2003, 2004. But anyway, this is the follow-up to that. And we're basically start off as, and they kind of go over what happens in Disassembled here in this recap page. That's kind of a nice feature. You don't get that in enough Marvel trades, in my mind. But it's got beautiful painted covers by Esad Ribic. And I think these covers kind of launched him. They're wonderful. It's got art inside by Olivier Coipel, or Oliver. Yeah, it's Olivier. You see the extra I there. He's a French artist, Coipel. I don't have the accent to properly pronounce it, so sorry, dude. Here's the Astonishing X-Men. Here's Coipel basically copying John Cassaday. But basically you have the X-Men come to the Avengers because they want to talk about Wanda. They want to find where she is, and they're going to do something about it. And then Quicksilver runs over to Magneto. They're on Genosha and says, they're going to kill her, they're going to kill her. And then they decide to go after Wanda. They get to Genosha, which was ruined in the Grant Morrison the first arc of his new X-Men run called E is for Extinction. And the first issue basically ends with everything being very, very different because Peter wakes up next to a blonde. Now, if you know Peter, you know that he's not married to a blonde in this timeline. He's married to Mary Jane Watson, who's a redhead. So here's another variant cover. So this is cool. You get the variant cover of the issue you just read as the issue ended. And then we go into House of M number 2. And what we realize is that this old man is Captain America. And what has basically happened in the House of M is that the mutants, the once persecuted mutants, have taken over the world as the new ruling class. There are now more mutants on Earth than there were humans. So it kind of flip-flopped the status quo, and everything's kind of going, sideways. Humans are persecuted or looked down upon as opposed to mutants, and Magneto seems to be the one in charge of, obviously, S.H.I.E.L.D. Here's some helicarriers and the world. And Miss Marvel is apparently a bigger hero. This is like what kind of launched Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers, now Captain Marvel, into a new era. Because before she was kind of there, she was in Kurt Busiek's run on Avengers as Warbird, and then with House of M, Bendis made her this large hero in the House of M storyline, and that kind of raised her profile significantly as Miss Marvel. She got her own book following this, and then I want to say it was Kelly Sue DeConnick relaunched her as Captain Marvel, and now she has her own billion-dollar movie. Craziness. But we slowly have people waking up to realize that the world is wrong, and one of those first people, I believe, is Logan here, realizing that something is wrong. He's an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then realizes, oh no, this is the wrong place. And the House of Magnus is the House of M that the title refers to. And Wolverine is going hunting, basically, to find his friends and figure out what the hell is wrong with this world. And then Hawkeye's alive? What? Why is that? So basically the book is the adventures of Wolverine trying to figure out what's going on. Why is Hawkeye alive? I thought he was dead. And he's gathering some heroes, and their memories are kind of coming back, kind of not. And then we have Emma Frost. We have Cyclops, and they're reeling with everything. Here's Peter Parker. He's shaved bald. There is a phenomenal tie-in called House of M Spider-Man, written by, I want to say it's Peter David. It's drawn by, the guy who's currently on Aliens. He did Matt Fraction's Iron Man. His name is, I can't remember, but it is a great story about him growing up and marrying Gwen, and just all the stuff that goes on with him right now. So they're kind of, there's this girl, Layla Miller. I think, is that the girl here? Yeah, that's this little girl. They find her in the House of M, and basically her power is to give everybody their memories back of what the world was before. So here you have this thing with Peter. You remember everything that's your life before, and then you realize that your wife there is actually supposed to be dead. Uncle Ben is still alive in this universe. It's quite traumatic for Spider-Man. So they go around collecting the heroes to somehow rectify the world, and it all culminates at this big party that Magneto is throwing. Doom is coming over. The Hulk is there. There's all this stuff, and the whole time you're going, wait, where's Professor Xavier? And you do kind of find out, if you spotted that page, you might know what happened. And then basically Hawkeye shows up and is like, why did you kill me? And then it all ends with this moment right here. No more mutants. So out of this, you had big things like Wolverine remembering his whole past. I think Origin came around this a little bit before then, but now Wolverine went on his own book called Wolverine Origins, launching out of this with Daniel Way on art and Steve Dillon. And he was kind of investigating his origins. Wanda kind of disappears for a while, and she comes back. I think there's an issue of New Avengers that Hawkeye actually goes hunting for her, but she doesn't really come back into the fold until Young Avengers Children's Crusade years later by Alan Heinberg and Jimmy Chung. So this just has the first 8 issues, but man, this is the crossover basically that launched 1,000 ships for Marvel. What else launched? We had World War Hulk, we had Civil War. Like every summer after this book and its line-wide crossover, we had another line-wide crossover from Marvel, up until they started doing the relaunches every year with Marvel Now and Marvel Super Now and Marvel Point One and all this other stuff. But for a long time, every summer, Marvel had a crossover event, and it all started because this was so successful. So if you've watched WandaVision, some of that is based on this very loosely. I would say it's more based on Avengers Disassembled than House of M, but it's kind of an amalgamation of both of these stories, and then them doing really what they wanted to do and not quite adhering to the reality of what happened in here. Because there's too many characters, the X-Men don't exist in the MCU yet. Spider-Man kind of lives off on his own, and some of these other characters are dead, like Iron Man's dead in the MCU, so, whatever. But yeah, that is an overview of House of M. Let me know down below if you really like this book. I think it's a pretty good story. I really do like it. I think this, Civil War, and Secret Invasion are my favorite events of this era. And those are my top 3 Marvel events, I think, of all time, at least that I've read so far. So let me know down below what you guys think of House of M, and we will see you guys next time in the Funny Pages.